All right. Check one, check two. This is it. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell, coming back again for another one. We're swinging for the fences. We're doing it every week. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour. I'm your host and MC and podcast voyager with you here, right now. The moment is now. The moment is here. We are going to have some coffee. We're going to have no beer. Not that beer is bad, but I'm going to have some cannabis and some coffee, and I'm going to talk to you about 45 minutes. I had one of the most exciting weeks of my life. Man, I gotta say, man, things have really opened up and gotten trippy and cool in all the best ways. But right now, it's the afternoon. I'm a little late with the podcast. You know, I'll try to get these out on Friday. It's either going to be Friday it's going to either be Thursday or Friday. And because I was working on a television show, not to brag, but I got to knock out some stuff. Sometimes it's going to be a day late, I guess is what I'm saying. This one is a day late, but is it late? You know, this is the Cannabis Coffee Hour. This is Grateful Dead. This is Widespread Panic. This is Tribe Called Quest. Nothing's perfect. We're just going organically into the universe together, as we always are. This moment, the presence. I'm all about the presence in the present moment and the awareness of what's happening. And I am aware that I'm recording a podcast right now. And I have a little bit of cannabis and I have a little bit of coffee. Man, there's just so much to talk about. I just did this great trip. I went up to Erie, New York, which is almost into Canada. It's up there, man. And I had one of the best weekends, one of the better performance, especially for cannabis shows. And, you know, I've done a lot for High Times and all this, but this was, the High Times Cannabis Cup was huge for me. It still is. I mean, those are my brothers, everybody and sisters, High Times, that whole community kind of took care of me when I came to New York in terms of always making sure I had weed and involved me in their, shows if they were putting something on, or they would look for an MC spot. Danny Danko, Bobby Black, all those guys from the old school. The new school's cool, but this was like the New York office. It felt like a throwback rolling into that joint. But, doing all those events prepared me. A lot of them, I emceed the very first Detroit Cannabis Cup, in the early 2000s, or it was like 2011. And then 2007, I went to Amsterdam. That's when they weren't even in the United States. There wasn't ever a cup. And I think I think I was there for the very first legal cup in Denver. I did a big show, I remember, with Reggie Watts. I did stand-up, and it was a bunch of bands. It's always been kind of hard, but I always felt like this was a part of my lane. And something like this opens up. This is a Native American, the Seneca Nation, upstate New York, Native Americans, and they have a great cannabis community, and now they're opening up shops, and it's not government regulated. Like, the federal government can't touch them. It's pretty amazing. The community, I have to give a really big shout out. So what happened was, this was up in Irving, New York. It's like 20 minutes outside of Buffalo, and it is a Native American reservation. And they do have cannabis stores on the reservation, and it's a movement. It's happening. They got great leaf. They got great, quality-wise, top-notch. And it's New York. So New York was always a little bit behind in terms of, I'm talking on a national world level, in terms of like Colorado or California, with the legal, medical cannabis movement happening way early on in those states. New York always dragged its feet because of New York City. But the thing about New York State is beautiful. Once you start getting way up there, like you go to Woodstock, or, what I found, it's it's really mountain beautiful. And once you get to Buffalo, Buffalo always had a different vibe, but it's not the South. It has this during the summer. It has the kind of that country vibe, but their winters are a whole other. That's a whole other thing going on. But I will say, man, if you ever get to go upstate New York during this time of year, it is beautiful. Same thing goes with Michigan. Like some of these like lake states are primo chill spots for the summer. But it's called Tall Chief Native Pride Travel Plaza. So pretty much this community reached out to my management and asked if I was interested in performing stand up at their first, like they've done some pop up, like little cannabis events, meaning, they bring all the dispensaries together and they all kind of pile in their money and they make a campground and everybody has a booth, and then there's people that sell bongs and there's people that sell it's more for the community. These things are kind of more like trade show vibes, and but it's all weed, so it's a good trade show. You're not like eating like granola bars or stale cookies or something. Like people are getting you dope pre-rolls and great, you got to watch yourself. Don't eat any crazy edibles because you never know with the edibles. But I will say, if you ever make it up to Native Pride Seneca Nation territory, these guys, they're growing it the right way. They're actually starting to grow cannabis on the grounds, and this is like they've been doing corn. They've been doing. He was showing me like all these different fruits and apricot, like they've been doing all this different stuff, but now it's starting to open up for cannabis, which I think is amazing. And people are getting paid. The cannabis market, like everybody, it's a little bit like the gold rush. Everybody thinks they're going to be a millionaire and jump right in, but it's not like that. It's a little bit of a different vibe. Like people are just figuring it out, wondering how it's all going to work. I want to just make sure I'm saying everything right, Native Pride. It's like, the Seneca Nation. It's what it is like a truck stop. It's a Native Pride. That's the simplest form, but the gas is $2 cheaper than everything else because they don't have to pay tax. So it's like $3 gas. It's like this really cool truck stop, and then behind it, like it's a big like drive your motorcycle through this park because it's not developed. It's just beautiful wildlife. I mean, Lake Erie was right there. I mean, if you want to go outward motorboating and go fishing, that's the spot. I'm definitely going back up there. But yeah, my man Brandon Bushi, and he's a tribe member and born into this whole thing, and he kind of explained he took the time to really show me the reservation and show me everything. And he runs 3 dispensaries, and they were my favorite. T.H.Chiefs is what it is. So it's like THC, but T.H.Chiefs. Man, if you're ever in Irving, New York, if you're ever near Buffalo, if you ever want to camp out, this is the spot, and these people are the coolest, and it's just something that needs to get a light shown on it, because they're doing the right way, and it feels very family. It feels very hippy dippy, but at the same time they got their shit together. That's that gentle balance. The thing about dealing with weed heads or pot heads or doing cannabis shows, yeah, sometimes you get somebody might be a little too stoned and doesn't cross the T's or dot the I's. Not Brendan. These guys, T.H.Chief, top notch, made sure I was paid, put me up right, made sure the mic worked. They did all the little things when you're producing a show to make it professional and smooth for everybody, and they did that. So bravo to them. I'm trying one of their, I'll have a little bit right now. This is a pre-roll from these guys. The thing about pre-rolls is they sometimes run, but let's just try to bless this spliff for not running a boat. Whoa, I dropped it. I haven't lit it yet. I'm getting excited. This is the first smoke of the day. I got the end of my coffee. My coffee was a little strong, so I water it down if I do an afternoon cup. And that's what this is. Mm, mm, mm. So yeah, Brendan was the point man and organized. T.H.Chiefs was the dispensary, but there was like 50 or 60, and so the gig was for me to do an hour in this outdoor field. So they had this beautiful outdoor field behind the Native Pride uh, Travel Plaza is what it is, and it's right off of 20 minutes outside of Buffalo, like right on Lake Erie. It couldn't be more. It's practically Canada. I mean, there's eagles and tons of deer, and I saw a ton of fucking wildlife. Lots of birds, lots of deer, lots of rabbits. So in behind it, there's this cool field, and it was all in trees. And then they had a big stage, and they had a DJ go on. I was the 5 o'clock, and then there was like a rock band after me. So, it was kind of like the entertainment as the event is going on which isn't the most ideal for stand-up, but I've been in these gigs before, and people are just getting really high and hanging out. It's kind of like playing to a comic book convention. So you don't expect people to die and laugh at. My whole thing, if it's outdoors and I see a group and I play to that group, if I'm getting legit laughs, that means it's killing if you were in a club. So you should never trip out. Outdoor performancing, it's a different read on crowds, especially for stand-up and especially if it's a daytime gig. But I had to do a full hour, and I've been working on this TV show. I was on set for a full week, not to brag. I'm trying to keep the ego in check. But the truth is, I'm working hard. Things are starting to play through, but it's not take private jets anywhere. It's just, steady good work, which is all what I wanted. But I also want, gargantuan amounts of money also, because that helps stuff too. But at the same time, I don't do it for that. As anybody knows, I've always kind of wanted just to be myself. And cannabis has let me be that. And in comedy and entertainment, I've always wanted to be truthful. I liked how Snoop Dogg and Be Real and Method Man, all those guys are mainstream acting, movie, media types. And, they're very, open with their cannabis and at the same time not dirtbags about it, It is what it is. It's like, it's like cigarettes or anything, but a little bit different and a little bit kinder. But I will say, yeah, that's what I wanted to go with cannabis, where I was trying to, and I talked about it. The crowd couldn't be nicer. The people are awesome. Sometimes, like I say, dot the I's and cross the T's. Working with stoners, you know how to double check. You got to double check everything a little bit and always try to be as honest and upfront and simple. And I think that's with everything right now, because there's just so many diversions of attention going on with all the internet and stuff like that. But the thing about it is like what I've found with doing cannabis, it's always nice. Everybody's nice. Nobody wants any drama. There's no real drama. The minute alcohol or hard drugs or, even gamble, the minute that type of element gets, but if it's just weed, what I have noticed is it's the crowds are really nice. The people are really nice. Is it the most lively? Nah. Sometimes it's spacey and out there. A lot of it's just introverts, looking within themselves, which I think is very important to do. And being an introvert myself, but now lately, a thing about growing older I think is cool is that I'm just trying to be less awkward. Life is already awkward. But when I'm dealing with people that I don't know or just small talk, what I'm learning with, being present and having my awareness, what I mean is like what I've learned about awareness. I don't want to go too crazy metaphysical with this podcast. Then you end up preaching and who knows where that goes. But the thing is like with awareness, that's something I learned recently, is think of awareness as a blanket. and it's pretty much just means you're alive, you're taking whatever's in the moment. But we all have that blanket. And it's going to form, if you're feeling bad, that blanket's going to form bad. If it's feeling good, that blanket's going to form good. So that's what the power of positive thinking. And I think, sparking with cannabis here and there to get out of the daydrums of, if you start getting complacent or negative, it's just a different way of looking at things. So that's how I've used it. Now this is a good spliff because it ran out and it's still intact and I'm really high. That's when you take 2 hits of a good spliff and you forgot it even went out and you're like, yo, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, whoa, I have a whole joint I haven't smoked yet. So, I got a whole podcast worth of joint I can smoke still. And I still got me a little coffee, but I still just want to paint the picture of the Seneca Nation, just how kind they were, man. I really, I talked to Brendan, I guess it would be Brandon, Brandon, Bushi. I don't want to blow up his spot too much, but he runs T.H.Chiefs and he's figuring it out and he's honest, awesome, and he's around my age. So everything kind of clicked with us. I do. And he has 3 dispensaries and he was running the event and he was like, hey man, we're all in this together. All these different shops are doing this with me. And that's what it felt like. I was on stage and I was doing an hour, but somebody from each booth would come up during my set while I'm telling jokes. And I had all my stuff. I had because it's daytime, I knew I was just going to tear through all my material and it would just be, a younger comic, a younger me would just try to kill really hard the whole time. I knew this is one of those that you have to space it out and work with the space. That is another Zen thing I'm learning is working with this. Whatever you have, you just have to work with what you got. So yeah, the setup wasn't ideal, but I knew that going in with these type of events, and I had the best opener, Clayton Williams. Clayton Williams is a comic that was in Brooklyn, but he's bounced between Buffalo and Brooklyn. And during the pandemic, he went up to Buffalo with his girl, and he knows that scene. So he kind of worked the road from there. And he's still doing that. And I met him through Joe Pera, and he did those Buffalo shows with us and killed. Great comic. And I got somebody to open for me. I knew the situation was going to be the situation. Just these live events. You need for stand-up, it's always nice for a proper stand-up show, you do need somebody to introduce you. You do need somebody to kind of get the words going on stage. I mean, to do it properly. And you need good sound. You need a good space. And all that is achievable, but a lot of times, it's even with the best comedy clubs, they'll forget 1 or 2 things. But this place was so awesome. They were like, yeah, sure, we'll pay an opener. They paid my opener, Clayton Williams, and Clayton came down. And Clayton looks like a pothead. He wears Hawaiian shirts. And his material's all he definitely geeks out on some anime and wrestling and shit. But he doesn't smoke pot, so he didn't do any pot material. It was pot-friendly material. But that was good for me because, I could talk about weed the whole time. So I just had a great opener, and he couldn't have been more cool and more chill, and he showed up on time and was down for the cause, and dug the reservation, dug the whole vibe, understood, it just felt special. It felt like I was doing something that I know it's been done, but it hasn't been done. Doing a cannabis festival on U.S. soil at a Native American reservation for me, as a kid that, I'm not saying I'm a proud American or American. Lately, I'm trying to let go of any type of naming and just try to be a good person in the moment. But I do think it's super dope. And we talked about lacrosse. I played a little bit of lacrosse about how the Native Americans, lacrosse is the American sport. It's the Native American sport. And they would, that's how they would solve conflicts with other tribes. They would play, sports. That's fucking dope, man. Congress and Senate needs to pick up some lacrosse sticks. A lot of those cats probably already know how to play. Um, but yeah, so he showed me all the, and then he showed me all the nature and all the houses. They have their own school, they have their own hospital, they have their own gas stations, they have their own electricity. It's just wild. And the guy Dogface, who's a TikTok star, he drank the Ocean Spray cranberry juice while listening to Fleetwood Mac, while lip syncing very well on a longboard Fleetwood Mac song Dreams. And he was there, and he was the coolest and chillest. He just was there and doing bong hits and taking pictures. But he was a part of the tribe. He was a Native American, and he knew exactly how important and cool and chill. And like I say, there was like this family vibe to it. It wasn't all capitalism, money. I'm not trying to make a bigger thing of what it was, but I'm just saying it just felt good. It was kind of like a bigger scale mom and pop vibe on a Native American tip, with lots of weed. And man, it was awesome. There was a great band that followed. I could probably dig out the name, but shout out to them. They were awesome. But the generator fell out during their, it was that time the generator fell out. They had to get gas for the generator. Anytime you do these outdoor events, like they say Woodstock was a big mess. The original like hippie, like the days, like the bands were all backlogged and there was electric outings and, anytime you could pull off one of these events, and this one they pulled off with such grace, style, and Native American coolness that it was just, I was just psyched to be a part of the event. And they put me up in a decent hotel close by. They got me there safe. They got me there home safe. I did a whole hour on stage. I did every joke I could have ever had and then some. And I was smoking the best New York cannabis while doing it. I must have smoked 20 joints on stage. I thought that in itself was entertaining. But like the whole week before, I was filming on this TV show. And like I said, like for a cannabis event, I'm going to smoke some cannabis. If I'm doing like a real TV show, where the thing about those TV gigs or anytime you get into like unionized, I belong to a union, SAG. It's a great actors union. That's what you have to sign up if you're going to do acting. And I like being a part of the union. They make sure you get paid right. It's hard to get in there, but not really, and you figure it out, and the dues are kind of a pain in the ass, but not really. But once you start getting gigs, it kicks in. What the hell was I talking about? But no, so the whole week I wasn't enjoying cannabis because I was working on this TV show. And I'm not coming to set high, unless the director told me to. If it's a Doug Benson gig, then yes. But if it's anything like where it's like a full like 100 people crew and there's you think about a power generator for a band, just for a television show. I mean, they're using the most expensive cameras in the world. There's call times, there's assistants on assistants. So yeah, I go dead sober, man. I go in like I'm about to fly a fighter jet. If I'm ever doing any type of corporate gig or anything big league, even stand up on a big stage. But if it's a stoner-friendly event and everybody knows who I am and what it is, then I want to give them more of a natural show. And at a cannabis event, yeah, I'm going to smoke cannabis on stage. Hell yeah. And it was outside, and it was beautiful. I remember just looking out, getting some laughs from all the different booths, people bringing me herb. I was looking at eagles, and I remember there was all this wild, the trees, and it was like hot, but it wasn't too hot. It was like 85 maybe. It was like I was catching some good rays. I had been inside the whole week. I'd been in the big, ugly New York Midtown. I was deep, and I was taking the subway at 6:30 in the morning for an hour, just like on half a cup of coffee, and then working on a TV show, which is awesome, but dead sober, hardcore, just trying not to fuck up or step on anybody's toes for a whole week. And then running off, jumping in a car driving 7 hours to a Native American reservation and then performing and then, getting paid. Anytime I get paid to do anything comedy or entertainment, it's a full blessing. But this spliff, I'm doing the one toke and then I'm just losing myself and then it kind of goes out. So that's when the pre-rolls are great. Shout out to T.H.Chiefs. They also gave me some 20 to 20 milligram CBD to THC edibles, and they also gave me some 40 ones. So I've had a couple of those, and they're awesome. I love an edible with a lot of CBD and THC. Not a lot. Like once you start going 200 grams or, there's these extreme ones that, maybe if you broke a femur. No, but some, people's tolerance and, it really comes back to the individual. That's why I keep on, that's why I keep on reminding myself not to judge as much, because everybody's on their own trip and everybody's needing different things. So what I'm saying about tolerance and how people smoke and what they smoke, it's kind of non-judgment to me. I just want it to be legalized, and I think it should be legalized and normalized. I definitely think people check out Normal, NORML. If you're interested in the cannabis movement and kind of starting to get the picture, and want to get a good picture on where it is, like in legalization and either the economics behind it and the medical. I think everybody leans wherever they're going to lean, especially, Normal and High Times are going to be leaning, more legalized content. And where I think there is definitely some bias at times, stoners try to live in the truth a lot. It's hard to lie and get high. So what I'm saying, if they're kicking it, if they're kicking it hard, I would say it's usually, right. Like, so that's why I get the Normal newsletter, and there's just a couple things. Arkansas is not a good place to smoke pot. Let's just say that. They tell me about the laws and stuff. So I'm trying to be a little bit more cognizant of kind of the education of this podcast. I don't want to be full on weed nerd podcast, but this is a big survey. Like, middle-aged women frequently report cannabis use to mitigate menopause symptoms. That's great. Exactly. I think, especially for cramps, I think cannabis hasn't even been talked about seriously. It is now. There's companies, CBD bath bombs and stuff like that, and THC. I think, cannabis is a way to kind of temper off pain or figure it out, or at least look at it and know that there is a more natural solution than going big pharmaceutical, big chemical, which, I think at times that you need, but you kind of need a little bit of both. So this is a big article about women using cannabis for menopause symptoms. And that's what I was kind of kicking with Brendan about the age. Like, I think cats my age, like either middle-aged women or middle-aged men. Like, he had a knee thing. I know dudes with hip things. They're not even 50. Like, they have knee operations, and these are hardcore operations. They're not fuck around. Like, you need some hardcore painkillers if you're getting your knee chopped into and cut up. I don't care how good your surgeon is. Eventually, you're going to have to pay for that in pain. And a way to do it is, I know a lot of like people that I don't know. I've knock on wood and everything, but people are, instead of using hardcore opiates, they do dabs, or they do, heavy THC, heavy CBD. I know they've been using it for cancer, chemo forever, for pain relief and also appetite. Like, so that's when, Fox News and some of this Republican leaning of stopping the opening up of cannabis, it's like, dude, you don't know what you're messing with. Like, in terms of nature, like, you just, Yeah, I mean, it's part of the earth. The thing about nature, and I said this on stage, you can't mess with nature. Nature can fuck you up, man. You ever got a gnat in your eye? How crazy that whole feeling is? It's a gnat is almost as harmless as a speck of dirt, and it could take a grown man down. You take the biggest biker uh, death metal dude of all time, and you put a gnat right in his eye. You watch him freak out and get to a mirror real quick, start trying to flush that thing out, and thinking about like getting it washed in its brain. So I think with legalization and normalization of cannabis for middle-aged people, I think for teenagers, no. And this is my opinion. And even for, think about your 20s, I don't know, but everybody's in their own thing. But you got to get your hustle on. And your body bounces back fast. But when you get to 40 and 50, your body doesn't heal like it used to heal. And you can use cannabis to, work through these weird, like, tweaks and twacks. Back health. Everybody I know has back pain after 40. Kurt Cobain freaked out on back pain. All these guys, I know sports, once you get a back pain, that's a hard thing to get around because that pain is just so annoying and always there. I know ever since I started, it's helped meditation has helped my posture. A lot of it is your posture, but with these computers, I'm sitting more and, doing this podcast, I'm sitting more. Like right after this, I'm going to take a walk. But I just think humans are evolving, and, a lot of the old ways just aren't going to fit through the new spectrum that's going to be going on. Meaning, I think it's going to be normal to work from home, and working with the internet, and working with the Zooms or whatever the next thing is. And then like stand up desks. I want one. The idea of like sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day or driving in a car for 8 hours a day in your 40s and 50s might not be the most healthiest thing as I stand up, as I said this. Because I do have just like an old school mic cord. I got it going in just like I'm doing stand up. And that's a reason why I do like doing these solo pods. Is that I could stand up and use this microphone. Because, half the reason was the pandemic. I went so hard with this podcast. Was, I wasn't doing as much stand up. I made a choice not to go out. And, well, not a choice. I mean, the gigs weren't there, but I was getting offered, and the gigs that were offered were weird. And I just been doing it long enough, and I was old enough that I could get really hurt by COVID. I still haven't caught it. Knock on wood, thank goodness. And I made it through shooting. I had to test like every 2 seconds. I was even wearing my mask like walking outside. But after that gig's done, I'm just gonna, I'm not going crazy, but I'm not wearing my mask outside. When I go outside, But everybody's sick of hearing about that talk. I will say that cannabis is great. Like I would keep on, but I was starting to get delirious with it. It was so good. So shout out to T.H.Chiefs. Dude, Irving, New York. I need to go back up there. I need to go fishing. I need to go live in the trees. And then he has like, this is what I saw. This is another thing. In Massachusetts, which I have to say, when I was in Massachusetts, that was, shout out Butternut Mountain. That's where I went skiing and snowboarding. But they had great dispensaries there. There was like 3 or 4, but I went to the best one, man. It was sick. It was amazing. And their packaging was really good. I just know they got their shit together. Like the one that I had, like they had prepackaged glass one hitters, like, and they would be like a gram of really ground. That's where I was like organic, this, that, outdoor, and they were like, okay, boom. But they're starting to have on-site consumption lounges. And I think that's the next step. Like just buying it and either smoking it, it's going to make people smoke in their car and stuff like that. But I know going places and then getting home is kind of weird. But now we have all these Ubers and eventually the electric car guy, Tesla dude, is going to have self-driving cars. I could see that happening sooner than later. I see switching over to electric cars more sooner or later. I don't have one. But I want my next one to be one, but I want to buy an American car, not to go all American. But I do believe that, just jobs. I'm down to buy local. Always have been. I've always liked mom and pop type shit. I always like asparagus stands. I always like peaches and apples. All that lake, side of the road vegetable grandma shit, I love. I think is the coolest shit ever. So yeah, but they do have a consumption lounge on the Seneca Nation territory up in Irving over by Native Pride. It's the same people that do T.H.Chiefs, my buddy Brandon. He has a place called Sessions. But he said he has coffee, but I was like, man, you got to make it all coffee and cannabis, man. Got to get some espressos machines. You got to get some good leather couches, some L couches. You got to get some outdoor seats. You got to have like a lane just for Ubers to pull up and take people home because they got too fired up. Get a good DJ or a band, jazz trio on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night from 9 to 12. Live jazz. That's what I have. If I had a little place. I thought about it. Brendan was saying that people with a record. And the thing is, I got popped in New York City. I did 3 nights under Giuliani in 2007. It was his laws. But I got popped for a one-hitter and did 3 nights in jail in New York City in the Tombs. And this was an old story I used to tell on stage. And I told it during the stand-up set. But he was saying that because of that, I go at the top of the list to open a cannabis business in New York. I'll have to look into that. But the weird thing about mine is that they said they would erase it from my record if I just signed this thing, admitted guilt. They pretty much hold you, and they call it time served. And because of time served, they'll waive it if you sign this thing. And it was just this weird, creepy law that was unconstitutional. It was weird. But I had to do 3 nights in the Tombs. In the Tombs, if you know New York City, that's where they put you right before. That's a federal holding cell. That's where you go right before Rikers. So that was for a half a roach outside a music venue in the Lower East Side in 2007. And now fast forward, man, my heart. I don't care if you believe in God or whatever. Believe in what you gotta believe in. But this Russian basketball player situation, Brittany, I want to get her name correct. Guys, I'm a stoner, so I'm a little slow on the draw sometimes with pronunciation, especially for this podcast because the idea is that I smoke. So you guys got to just give me a little, Brittany Griner. Yeah, my heart goes out. 9 years, and it's just a scary, scary fucking thing, and it's scary that. I just know that feeling. She did nothing wrong. She did absolutely zero wrong. That's the thing about a lot of pot smokers and all the rest. A lot of it's just like kind, nice people. I not everybody, and I know a lot of criminals smoke. It's just I know a lot of bad people smoke, or whatever bad people are. It's like people smoke weed. I'll just say that. That's just since the beginning. People smoke cannabis since the beginning of all beginnings. That's when it got found, or it's been used. Was used in Native American culture for solves, and everybody's feeling that and understands that. Nature has the answers, and it is, is it the answer for everything? No, but this situation of this poor girl, I just know that feeling. Brittany, you did nothing wrong, and I will pray for you tonight. And that one's the one that's really messing with my head. Because I know she did nothing wrong and she's being used by the governments, and it's on this certain subject. In America, I don't know. We've always been smoking weed. George Washington had a cannabis farm. The thing about America, it is agriculturally before all the steel and all that. This is we grow crops, and that's where we learn from the Indians, Native Americans. But this country, yeah, and cannabis is all about growing and being kind of, if you work with nature, it's better. But Brittany, she did nothing wrong, and she got arrested in Russia for a cartridge of pot. And it's not even, it was like an empty weed cartridge. Like everybody's grandmother probably has that in their fucking purse. It's like on a bullshit charge, on a bullshit country. They suck. And I might just want to say, just positive vibes. Love coffee, and I love cannabis. I love you for listening. It's not the easiest thing to do this much time just talking on a podcast and trying to make sense and having a little bit of good Native American cannabis and having some great coffee. I think this coffee is from Catatoni. I'm doing the Chemex. I'm just trying to do one Chemex a day. And Chemex is it's not new. It's like super simple. I love minimalism. I'm trying to get my head more around minimalism, because you really don't need as much to be happy. And happiness is always there. And things don't make you happy. But it's nice to have a few of them. You need like a Forerunner, a jet ski, maybe a spaceship, a weed tractor, a scuba tank, ping pong table, card table, a dog kennel. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm down to the later part of the joint. Right now it's for the taste. Maybe I'll slow down a little bit. But I got a new DeJeep lighter. DGJEEPP. These are the good ones with the big thumb. If you're going to do bong hits, that's a great lighter. The Jeep lighter. It's a great bong hit lighter. And a great spliff lighter. But sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, as Kenny Rogers used to say. I'm going to put this spliff out. I had a couple more puffs, and then I'm like, oh man, this is a lot. And I don't want to sound too scrambled on this podcast. That bums me out when I sound too scrambled. I don't want to waste anybody's time. But man, that tasted great. This coffee tasted great. I got a big jug of water. I think I'm being good. You're supposed to do 4 32-ounce things of water, like one of those. I'm still old school Nalgene. Let's go listen to a Fish mixtape in Vermont type of vibe. Oh man, that's some good water. Drink a little water up on the mountain. Magic Mountain. That was a song on Spotify I was checking out. War and Eric Burden, I believe. Magic Mountain. Now that's a sample that's in an old De La song. Either Tribe or De La, but the sample's sick. But then you listen to the original joint and you're like, oh man, this song is sick, sick. Just the drumming is amazing in Magic Mountain. And the singing's dope. It's like all natural. It's all about drinking water. I love the weed era of music. Hippies go a dark turn. I mean, I will say that A Long Strange Trip, the 4-part Martin Scorsese produced miniseries, was very powerful. Wow, bang, hit me, hurt me, loved me, brought me back. I love the Grateful Dead even more. It's a tragic, tragic story of dreams in America, and but also beautiful and cool. Man, it is trippy. But I'm listening to more Grateful Dead even more. But man, I mean, playing this weed cannabis fest kind of felt like that. It's kind of like the Grateful Dead, playing, those early acid tests, Ken Kesey acid tests. Like, because I would just ramble and ramble, but some of it was good. A lot like this podcast. I just ramble and ramble. I was still drinking coffee, still drinking water. But yeah, shout out to Dogface. He was awesome. He's in this great show called The Reservation. Oh no, it's called, what's that called? Res Dogs. Yeah, and it's on FX, and you play it on Hulu, and it's amazing. I would just watch the first 2 episodes, but he's on the new season, and we were talking. They were telling me that they have Native American directors and actors, and the people at the reservation love this show. It's a dope show. I got the first 2 episodes. I don't watch that much TV. I'm always running around and doing shit. But I'm starting to watch more and getting more involved. But the reservation's amazing. I'll talk more about the TV show that I worked on, but I don't want to spill the beans. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about. If you follow my social media, you know what I'm talking about. But, this podcast is just what it is. It's a little bit of cannabis. It's a little bit of coffee. I talk about comedy, talk about my journey a little bit. But I also interact with cool dudes he said he would do the podcast. Dogface 420, he was down to do it. And I'll reach out to him and make sure we try to get him on, because he said he'd never been to New York City. I said I'd show him around, give him a blunt. Well, I don't smoke blunts. I'm gonna get him some good weed, and maybe go to the park, check out the shoe store, check out maybe a restaurant or 2, get some pizza. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get some pizza tonight. I'm gonna eat some pizza with some salad. Got to mix it up with some green, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it was dope meeting Dogface. What was he saying? Yeah, he was just on some really nice guy. The vibes were just great. So shout out to the Tall Chief. Shout out to the Blazed and Dazed Cannabis Festival. Thank you for bringing me up there, Brendan, and being so kind and sharing your culture and your community. That's it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and peace.